There are number of ways when we talk about the deployment of SSL certificates. So we can consider the cost, we can consider the compatibility, management, adaptability, and all these kinds of scenarios whenever we are working inside the IT industry regarding the security parameters. So whenever we talk about the deployment of SSL certificates, so generally we heard there the number of SSL types. The first one is UCC, the second one is wildcard certificate, the third one is PFX, the fourth one is PEM certificates, and there are number of other types of certificates generally we use inside the IT industry. So if you are curious about all these types of certificates, so let's move with this episode. Hello and welcome to all of you on my productive and industry oriented training platform. So whenever we talk about the deployment of SSL certificates, so the first type regarding the SSL certificate is wildcard certificate. So the concept is really simple. Whenever we have a single primary domain name and we are going with multiple child domain names, so in this situation we are going to deploy wildcard certificate. Why this scenario is necessary? Because in this case we are going to save amount on each and every single certificate which we need to create in journal parameters. So whenever we require a single certificate, so we go create the certificate, submit with the root CA, and then in the result of that CSR we get the new certificate. But if we have a single parent domain name and we have multiple child domain names like 10, 20, 30, 40 and more than this number, so in this situation we just need to create a single CSR. We come up with a single certificate and that single certificate will work for all child certificates. So in this way the management make more easier and we can save a lot of amount which generally we need to invest on every single certificate. So after understanding the wildcard certificate, let's move with the next concept. So when we are dealing with the SSL certificate, so there is a scenario where we have multiple parent domain name and multiple child domain names. Might be you can consider it like xyz.com, abc.com, 123.com, techworld.com, ebiz.com. So these are multiple primary domain names and also they have many child domain names as well. So in this scenario, if you are going with the deployment of SSL certificate, so we need to create a single certificate for each domain name, but it will cost a lot because every certificate has its own cost. So in that scenario we have another important type of certificate which is known as UCC certificate. So inside the UCC certificate, these certificates have the quality, or you can say these certificates have the capability by which they can merge multiple primary domain names. So when we talk about the UCC certificates, so they generated on behalf of a single CSR and we have a single certificate for multiple primary domain names. So inside the UCC certificate, we have multiple domain names and multiple child domain names as well, and there is no limitation about the number of primary domain names. So if that kind of scenario you are facing, so the best thing is that you can go with the UCC certificate because it will be a kind of a cost effectiveness. The second one is the management, third one is the implementation, and fourth one is the renewal. So it's really important when you are going with the SSL certificate deployment. Well, whenever we are going with the deployment of SSL certificate, so generally we require four parameters. The first one is the private key. Definitely this key will verify your certificate. The second one is your primary certificate. The third one is root CA, while the fourth one is intermediary CA certificate. So we will deploy all these three certificates step by step. So we are finding a way where we can make this process very simple. So in this situation, we are going to create PFX certificate. So PFX is a kind of a certificate where we combine all these four parameters regarding the SSL. So in the PFX file, we are going to combine the primary certificate, the intermediary, the root CA, and your private key as well. When all these four parameters combine inside a single file, the certificate which generated after this is called PFX certificate, and this certificate is more secure because it is integrated with your private key. And one more important thing about the PFX certificate is that it only supports on the platform of Microsoft operating system. It means that you are just going with the deployment of IIS. So if we move forward, we will see what other certificate options available regarding the deployment. Now in the last section, we are going to understand another concept which is known as PAM certificate. So there is no difference between the PFX and PAM certificate, but here is a single difference which we are going to discuss over here. So the single difference is that in the PAM file, we are going to combine all three certificates: the primary certificate, this intermediary certificate, and the root CA certificate, while there is no private key included inside the PAM certificate. So it means that PAM certificate combines the three major types of the certificates except your private key which is related with the certificate. So that's why the PAM certificate is not that much secure. Generally, the security considerations we take regarding the PFX file. And one more important thing about the PAM certificate is that you can only use this type of file extension inside the open source operating system like Linux, Ubuntu, CentOS, Debian. The PAM certificate is not supported on the platform of Microsoft.